All right. Good morning, good evening to my 21-22 APUSH students. I wanted to give you a little bit of a roadmap where we're going with respect to the APUSH exam, which, as you'll see here, is on May 6th of this coming spring. But I didn't necessarily want to waste time in class talking about this. And I also want this video to be a resource for you that we can go back to when you're trying to prepare for this thing come next April or so. Okay. So let's get going with all my materials. You'll find that this will be accessible on our Google Drive. And it'll be linked this video through the presentation and vice versa here. Okay. Um, those of you who are watching this right now in August don't know me yet. I am Coach Galloway, and I have been teaching APUSH for 5 years now. Prior to that, I taught AP Gov. My success rate has been strong, and I say that not as some sort of not so humble brag, but to let those of you know that are watching this that we can be successful when it comes to kind of that, ultimate public goal of this course, which is our exam, right? Typically, about 74% of my kids pass this exam. That's almost 25% higher than the national average and greater than that with respect to typical North Carolina averages. Of those who pass my exam, about half of them are scoring fours on the exam. And so I have a track record of preparing kids. And I want you to pay attention to this video and be aware as the year progresses here of other tips and tricks that I'm giving you to be successful on this test. Okay. Um, First and foremost is not much of a secret, and that is get yourself off to using the resources that the College Board provides. We are going to have a My AP or My AP Classroom account for all of you guys with some practice tests and a lot of resources. But even just publicly, I Googled APUSH exam, and here's a screenshot of the website that it brought me to, which is a College Board exam website, and walks you through the entire format. Okay. So this is a good addendum to the presentation I'm giving you here today when I talk about each of these sections, multiple choice and the different writing sections. This website gives you some more information on all of what I'm about to address, as well as kind of a broader overview of the exam itself. Okay. So make use of the resources that are out there for you. What I intend to show you today and to record for you to come back to, and by the way, what I'm about to show you is all on our website, okay, are the rubrics for, well, first we're going to start with multiple choice questions, and then the short answer questions, the long essay questions, and the document-based question. And we'll talk about document analysis and all that here, okay? So let's get started with the multiple choice questions. If you haven't taken an AP exam before, an AP class before, you'll probably get frustrated with the fact that, as this meme here suggests, there are often two or more correct answers. And your job is to choose the most correct answer. And that takes some ability to understand your history and then to discern from reading keywords in the question and in the answer choices carefully which one is the most correct. But having said that, I've got kind of my tips and tricks here. All right. Because when we look at this section of an exam, 55 minutes for 55 questions. You got a minute per question, okay? Most all of the questions are going to be related to a stimuli of some sort. Oftentimes, it'll be one stimuli relating to a batch of, let's say, 3 or 4 questions. When you're looking at stimuli and you're working on about a minute per question, this can be done, but I think it's important that we're intentional in how we go about it. So, the first piece of advice I have for you is to do what I call placing the document. Okay. If I'm looking at a wall of text on a document, I probably don't want to read that whole thing. That's going to take more than a minute itself. Okay. I'm not telling you not to read the document, but I'm telling you to place the document. So find what is the source. Who is the speaker? Who is the artist? What is the subject matter? When is the document dated? Get some contextualization, if you will, for the document, and then go read the question. What is the question asking you? Okay. When you look at just the question, you can probably then go to your answer choices and probably still eliminate one. On, kind of standard fare tests, there are often very easily eliminated questions of, maybe two or three. Here, you'll probably have one that still takes some effort for you to eliminate, but you can probably do it just by placing the document, understanding what the question is asking, and then eliminating an answer choice. Okay. Then we can go back to read the document. Now we know what we're reading the document for. Okay. Now we know what the question is, right? Then we have remaining answer choices, okay, which now we've read the question, we've read the document. We should probably have that whittled it down to probably your two best answer choices. Choose the best one and move on. You only have a minute, okay? Um, One tip I have for taking the exam, by the way, is as you go through and you're exposed, there's so many documents history. I can't teach you them all this year. You're going to see documents for the first time on this exam. So you're going to have to get that historical contextualization. I would also ask you, as you see a new document during this section of the test, just kind of keep that in mind. Is it something you might be able to cite as evidence later on in one of your essays? Just food for thought there. Okay. Let's talk about some of the essays. The first type of writing that we're going to primarily focus on for this school year is what's called an SAQ, sometimes an SEQ, just because I'm weird. But this is also in section one of your exam, part B. So you move from the multiple choice questions, 55 minutes, 40% of your exam, to the short answer questions, okay? 40 minutes, 20% of your exam. There are three short answer questions, all right? Question one will come from time periods 3 through 8. Question two will come from time periods 3 through 8. And question three, you have a choice, a 1 through 5 or 6 through 9. So kind of earlier or later history. So you have some choice in there, okay? But you're writing three essays. When we write an SAQ, we address all three parts of each essay. Okay, so that first question, drawing from time periods 3 through 8, will be question 1, A, B, C. And for each A, B, C, you're going to write a paragraph. The paragraph will be written using the ACE strategy, where we answer, cite, explain. Okay? So, right off the bat, we answer the question being asked with our historically defensible position right away. Attack it in your first sentence. Answer the question. Then you cite historical evidence that is relevant, okay? And then you explain why you cited that evidence. You expand to say how the evidence you cited supports the argument you made when you attacked the topic in the first question, the first sentence. Okay, that's the ACE strategy. So for essay number one, you're going to ace, ace, ace. For essay number two, ace, ace, ace. For essay number three, choose your essay, ace, ace, ace. All three parts, all three questions. You have about 13 minutes per question, okay, when you break that down. At that point, you're going to get a break, okay? You've done the multiple choice, you've done the short essays. and now you get a break. Okay, but that is to explain to you that there's 60% of your exam. Most of our living in AP this year will be on multiple choice questions and short answer questions writing. Okay, short answer questions. Okay, next up is the LEQ, the long essay question. Okay, here, this is somewhat akin to the essays that you have probably worked on so far in your academic career, a standard kind of 5 paragraph essay. There are some tricks to how we attack this writing. Um, and in order to understand that, you need to understand the rubric. The rubric here is front of you for the LEQ. It's a 6-point rubric, okay? And what we teach you is to get a third of your points. Get 2 out of your 6 points right away in the first paragraph by providing what we call contextualization and your thesis. All right. A lot of meat on this bone right here. If you're coming from world history, you probably heard Mr. Ferguson last year talk about framing contextualization like the beginning of Star Wars. If you were to watch a Star Wars film, an original like Star Wars, whatever, I don't know, and you walk in, you don't know what you're expecting. The film begins. You've got all these crazy characters. This planet looks weird. You have no idea what's going on, right? So, contextualization is the scroll that comes across the screen a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, so it's in history and it's way out of here. I'm in some sort of alien world. Let's go. I'm watching the film, right? Contextualization describes to your reader that you understand the nature of the world or the geographic region at the time, or the nature of the topic at the time uh, that you're being asked to write about. Okay. Um, and so, how we got there, right? So, if you were to write about, you know, the, it's you're eventually going to make a claim about the civil rights movement. You would want to set that up by talking about, you know, the failures of Reconstruction because of Jim Crow and, you know, redlining or so on and so forth, right? In the wake of World War II, even before you get to the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s, and or using that to contextualize, you know, civil rights today. Okay, so you're setting up um, the historical basis for the argument you're about to make. Your thesis then is your point of argumentation. Now, I teach my kids to write a thesis with rhythm in it, okay? Because I know you look at me and you think, hey, there's a man with rhythm. But what I mean by that is da 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 da. You want to have a rhythm of contrast, okay? Although you know, great strides have been made in civil rights between 1969 and 1988. There were particular failures because of XYZ. Okay, you got a little contrast. I'm just absolutely making stuff up here right now. Okay, I got civil rights in my mind here. So, um, it's an historically defensible thesis and claim, okay? And that contrast is going to help us later when we get to understanding a complex understanding of the historical development that you're writing about. But if you've provided contextualization and an historically defensible thesis, and we'll talk about underlining it and that kind of stuff, 2 out of your 6 points are achieved right there in the first paragraph. So that's going to be a mandate when we do the LEQ writing, just like ACE is a mandate for the SEQ writing, right? We go contextualization and thesis, 1, 2, first paragraph, boom. Okay. Then we're going to get into, again, providing evidence and supporting it. So this mimics some of what we've already done with the C and the E in the SAQ writing strategy known as ACE, right? We cite evidence that's relative to the topic of the prompt here, and we support our argument, our thesis, by using that evidence. We explain or expand how that evidence supports our thesis. Okay. Now, they ask you to do that on an LEQ at least 2 times. I teach you to do it 3. That way, if they don't like one of what you wrote, they still got 2 left. You're still going to get your points. So your LEQ rubric then would, or your essay, excuse me, would look like an intro paragraph with contextualization and a thesis, and then 3 body paragraphs citing and explaining different pieces of relevant historical evidence and how they support your thesis. Okay, so you got intro, body, body, body. And then we get to our final uh, section here, right? Which we could probably wrap up in a conclusion paragraph where we talk about our analysis and reasoning and we demonstrate the complex understanding. Okay. So that is to say, where you explained change, you also showed continuity. Now, that rhythmic contrast in our introductory thesis helps us come back to this final point here. Okay. Um, those last 2 points might be difficult to achieve. We still need to teach you the historical thinking skills that they talk about here in the first rubric point under analysis and reasoning. But we're going to get there. I feel very confident that all of my kids can write 4s on the LEQs by the time this test rolls around, though. Okay. So we're going to get us even higher than that. Okay. But there's your LEQ writing. All right. Finally, then is your DBQ writing. All right. Your DBQ is one essay, 60 minutes. It's about 25% of your exam score. They tell you to take about 15 minutes of reading time, 45 minutes of writing time. And then they've got this whole rubric that we really do kind of have to work our way through here. Okay. But it's very similar to the type of writing we've been doing so far, in that you'll notice it opens up with a contextualization, then it asks for a thesis. Then it asks you to explain the main idea of 6 documents and how it's significant to this argument. So you identify 6 documents, okay? Then you get into your extended analysis of documents, all right? We'll talk about that in a second because that's a skill I need to teach you. And then you get into your outside evidence, something that's not in the essay but is relevant that you can support it with. Okay. We're not even going to talk about that final point today. Okay. But you see this kind of same general style of writing, but this also asks for some document analysis. So there's another skill we're going to be working on throughout the year here. The document analysis that's asked of you for the DBQ is known as a hippie or happy document analysis. Okay, this is a primary document analysis. Again, a primary document, right, was produced at the time of the event being studied. It is an original copy of a letter, a speech, an artifact, a piece of art. Okay, and we analyze that for the historical context, or excuse me, I should say H, historical context. Okay. Again, it's hippie happy because A is, or I, intended audience. Okay. P, point of view. P, purpose. Why is this important? So we're going to work on this skill. Okay. But that's what the DBQ is going to ask you to employ when we talk about extended analysis skills on that final writing rubric we saw on the previous slide. We're also going to get into analyzing secondary sources, especially analyzing for the purposes of argument deconstruction, understanding what is the central question and the thesis of authors as they're trying to persuade us, and whether or not they successfully make their case. All right. And that is how we go about secondary source analysis. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit here about source analysis here as we get ready to wrap up the video. Okay. Again, I showed you the link here for the College Board. I'm sorry if this thing took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but it's good to have in place. And like I said, it'll limit us from having to take some class time to do this. So uh, I thank you all and look forward to seeing you in class. I'm looking forward to a great year. Take care.